Welcome back. We're here with another Muscle Minute with MuscleMentor.net. I'm Brad Hull, and this is Justin Harris, and this time we're doing Peak Week, but we're doing the ladies edition, so we're going to go over kind of figure and bikini and how we go about that.
All right. Figure and bikini, specifically bikini, your goal for the final week should be don't screw everything up. And really, I don't do much different at all for bikini, maybe a little bit for figure, but the thing is, the looks that are rewarded in bikini and figure aren't the extremely full look or aren't the extremely dry look. You want to be sufficiently lean for both, especially figure. But if you're sufficiently lean, that is the look you want on stage. You don't want to be lean and dry where you have cross striations. The goal is to be so lean that you could get those cross striations and things like that. So lean that you could look like a bodybuilder, physique competitor, but then just don't do those final week things that look like that. And that is the best look. That's the look that's rewarded in figure. But so I really don't change much. I basically do the same thing. I have them do a last leg and a high carbohydrate day, about a week out, 7 days out. As far as gear use, if you're using gear as a bikini competitor, you're probably not my client, but and I forgot to mention this with the male bodybuilders, but I don't cut fat burners or anything like that before the show. If you're on T3, if you're on Clen, if you're on ephedrine caffeine, if you're on other types of fat burners, you keep those in through the show and we'll taper off after the show. You don't want to be dealing with something where because those things have a big effect on your water output. I mean, you're taking 600 milligrams of caffeine a day. That's a diuretic. You suddenly stop taking that, it's going to have an effect. Same thing with Clen, same thing with T3. Don't change those. Whatever dose you're on for those the final week at 7 days out, keep that through the show and taper off over maybe a week or two after the show. But for figure competitor, I basically do the last leg workout, and I don't really even buy into the whole holding water in your leg thing. It's so ingrained in everyone's thought process that I don't even bother fighting it and trying to get an extra leg workout. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a light leg workout inside of a week out. But if you ever did that with anybody who's ever read anything on the internet, they'll freak out. It's not worth it. So I just have them do the last leg workout 7 days out, last high day. We keep water high throughout the diet. We keep that same. For women, it's between usually a gallon and a gallon and a half. For a figure, if a small figure, usually a gallon is enough. But I'll keep that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we'll do the same thing. Either medium days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, if they're fully in shape, or we'll do low days, or more, 1 to 3 low days, depending on what kind of condition they are. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is almost always a low day, and usually their last workout and their last cardio. And then the same thing as I'll do with the guys for figure is we'll do a carb up Thursday and Friday, but there's not really much of a carb up. It's, there's not a super high carb day. It's probably even less carbs than it is on their high carb day. Mm-hmm. Keep sodium in still at the normal amount, usually on Thursday, maybe slightly less sodium, but they're still salting all their food and they're still eating sodium every meal. And water's still the same high. And then what I'll do Friday is we'll taper sodium down. We'll keep water about the same, but maybe if they've been drinking a gallon and a half, we'll drop it to like a gallon, but that gallon will be done before, maybe we'll do a gallon till 6 p.m. and then 4 to 6 ounces with each meal that they're awake after that. It's just but we keep water in mostly for the whole time. And again, you don't want to be super dry and with that look with figure. But the other thing I'll do on Fridays, I usually have them switch to 80-20% beef, actually, for their protein sources. And because the goal is, I'm not trying to get them super full, but whatever fullness we got from Thursday, I'm trying to just basically maintain. And you can maintain fullness by carbohydrates or by calories. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this in other series where how most of the protein you eat is actually carbohydrate. So you can actually stay full on fat just as easily as you can on carbohydrates. What the fat does is it provides enough calories so that you're not depleting glycogen, and then
use it.
Yeah, and so that whatever glycogen is in the muscle is going to stay there. And then also it's just easier people think it's something special that they're getting 80-20 beef and they're doing something unique and special. You could easily do it with lean beef or chicken and then just have them add almond butter. Right. But I like to do basically the same approach but through a different means, so they mentally they think they're doing something unique and special, which does help. When people think they're doing some super secret thing, they end up stressing less. They end up being more confident in their approach, and stress and cortisol is the one thing that can make you look differently that last day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then I'll track their blood sugar usually too. A lot of times with figure and bikini, I don't really need to. I will have them sometimes, But really, with figure, when you're fully in shape, after that high day on Saturday or a week out, that's how you want to look on stage more or less. You want to be so lean that you could get super dry, but you don't get that super dry look. And that's the round, lean look that gets rewarded. And so Saturday we'll do something simple for breakfast. We'll do something like lightly salted eggs, maybe some raw nuts, and maybe some dried fruit. And then repeat that every 3 hours until they're on stage. Real simple. Maybe I'll have them drink half a Coke or Pepsi or something while they're backstage. Really, it doesn't affect anything, but it makes them think they're doing something special before they pump up. Now for bikini, and I apologize to some of my bikini clients, the first-time clients, because the secret might be out of the bag now. I don't really change anything the final week, but I make them think I change things the final week. What I'll do is, starting on Wednesday, we'll switch to spring water, only spring water. And sometimes I'll even specify spring water from this brand or from Walmart or something. And the thing is, it's the same water they've been drinking, but now they think it's more important. They think, because they've heard of peak week. And a lot of times bikini competitors tend to be, I trained for almost a decade before I did my first show, and I had read everything about bodybuilding. Bikini usually isn't that way. Usually, I don't want to say usually or exclusively, but very often there's someone who's just started training not that long ago, oftentimes within the last year, and even more often their boyfriend is a bodybuilder, usually a bodybuilder who has never competed but knows enough to know that peak week is some magical week where everything changes.
Right.
And so they've been fed this line their whole contest prep that peak week's coming, everything's going to change. And so rather than stress them out by not changing everything and telling them that their boyfriend is wrong, which it doesn't do anybody any good, because they're going to believe the boyfriend's right. I will change everything by not changing everything. So we'll switch to spring water and only spring water. Our carbohydrate sources I'll pick, if they've been eating rice and potatoes and rice cakes, I'll say, now we're only going to use plain white rice for our carbs. Or we're only going to use rice cakes. Use this brand of rice cakes, or I'll specifically say, and then in your meals 3 and 5, make sure it's white potatoes for your carb sources. And then for sodium, we won't change sodium, but they'll switch to sea salt, not iodized salt. It has to be sea salt. If they ask for a brand, I'll even Google one and tell them which brand to take.
Himalayan pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is changing things by not changing things. And
like you mentioned before, though, just keeping cortisol in check.
And that's the biggest thing, because all you're gonna the
stress hormones low. That's as important as
you want them calm that last week, and they've learned from their boyfriend or from their friends or people who competed that the peak week is really important. So if you don't place that importance in your approach, they're going to stress and think they're doing something wrong. And so you want them to believe they're doing something right. And so basically what we do is we don't change things. We change things that don't change anything.
Right.
And that's really what we do. And sometimes with bikini and also with figure, I'll have them use a mild herbal diuretic like Expel by MHP. And so we won't cut sodium or water or anything the final week, but I'll have them take a dose of Expel Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And that's real mild. I mean, that's a dose of that is basically like you could use, what is it, Diurex, like the menstrual bloating diuretic. It's just it's probably dandelion root or something. It might flush a pound of water or something, but it's another thing that not going to change much, not going to affect them, but it makes them think they're doing something really good and important. Mm-hmm. And then the morning of the show, we'll do the same thing: a basic protein, a fattier protein source like whole eggs, maybe some nuts and some dried fruit, and go on stage. Again, if they're really concerned about pumping up and they think they need to do something special with that, I'll have them drink half a Coke before they pump up or something again, so they think it's. And if they ask what brand, I'll tell them, regular Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Can't get it.
But, and really the biggest thing with bikini is usually they're really nervous. A lot of times it's their first. It seems like a lot of bikini competitors do one show and then move to figure. And so a lot of times bikini competitors are doing their first show. They're not as experienced. They haven't been training for years. They haven't been on the boards for years. They don't have enough background. And so really my goal is that final week, keep them calm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I take a similar approach with what I talked about with the men. So we start, the beginning of the week, we start with our water, what it usually is, and then starting start increasing by a liter or something like that all the way up until Friday. I still want to create that same surplus of water. Basically, I call it water logging, but I mean that's kind of a bad term because it makes you think that you're going to look all. Usually, you start drying out even before Friday comes because your body is just trying to get rid of all the excess water. As the week goes on, and this kind of goes for both groups. I'm not going to do anything crazy with the calories or the carbohydrates the beginning part of the week. I usually keep it pretty low just to keep them on whatever fat burning course they were on to begin with, or whatever was keeping them steady. We'll increase carbohydrates and usually lower fats on a day like Wednesday or Thursday, just like we did before. Coming into Friday, I do the same thing where I bring sodium down. The water is at the absolute highest that it's been, and we still cut it out because I don't know, especially for figure, I still want them to get as dry as they possibly can. And then what we'll do is we'll manipulate it in the morning. So I want to see what they look like in the morning, and if they're too striated or whatever, that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
We'll add a little bit of water.
Yeah, you can always make some water.
You can always make a little bit of water appear. So I'd much rather have them be just as dry as I can possibly get them. And like you said, we'll use. So another thing, on Friday or Thursday, we'll start doing vitamin C like every other hour, and then like some dandelion root like 2 or 3 times in between that, and it just helps like in that final little push and getting as dry as possible. And like Justin mentioned earlier, they're already as full as the glycogen stores are already as full as they're gonna be. And what you can do is increase calories through fat or through protein or whatever it is to keep your energy needs met, so you're not dipping into those glycogen stores. And that's the way that you stay full from whatever your load day was. So then, in the morning, they wake up, you get pictures, or if you're doing it yourself, you look in the mirror, you see how dry you look. And, if you look like a string bean, you're totally flat, well, fix it. If you look like, if you look watery, we'll fix it. But that shouldn't be the case. If you do this the right way, you should wake up and you should look pretty stinking dry, and you should be pretty dry. Usually, people end up peeing like another 4 to 6 times, again, after we cut off the water at anywhere from like 6 to 7 p.m. is usually about the time.
That approach isn't the effects of water ingestion and kidney output isn't immediate. It takes hours or even days. So if you spent the last 4 days telling your kidneys to output a ton of water, if you stop the water, your kidneys don't say, okay, water stop. Yeah. That takes a period of time to readjust, and so you continue flushing even after.
Yeah, that's the overshoot that I'm talking about. Like the kidneys are just pushing as hard as they can to still get rid of water. So as long as your muscle is full of the glycogen that it has and the water that's already stored there, where it's going to pull from is going to be under the skin. And so just don't go tanning that morning, let me tell you. People thinking that's going to make them look better. So but yeah, it's a pretty simple thing. I don't know if you mentioned it, I think you did at the beginning of the video, but if you are figure or whatever, and you are using gear or orals or anything like that, we're gonna drop that out a little bit earlier in the week, at least 5 days.
Yeah.
So that's it.